Okay, I'm Joseph and I am the Labs Operation Manager. I handle the QC operations and I talk to the doctors if they have any questions. I answer any questions that anybody has here. Any of the technicians have any questions regarding cases, any difficult cases. I'll handle the difficult cases as far as any problems that arise with any of those cases, anything like that. So anything that's out of the ordinary, I'll handle that and deal with any of the doctor's questions and stuff like that. I've been in this field for 20 years. I started off as a delivery driver. And it was just, I needed a job, and I had a friend whose mother actually worked for a lab, and she said, "You look like someone who would fit in this industry." And she gave me a number to call. I called and got in as a delivery driver, and it just kind of took off from there. So I started off, obviously, as a delivery driver. You start in the model department. That's kind of the natural order of things, and you kind of see if you have the hand-eye coordination, and you move from there into the next department, which for me was waxing, hand waxing, and then metal finishing, and then ceramics. And at that point, 20 years ago, CAD/CAM wasn't really a thing. And by the time I had learned some of the other aspects, then CAD/CAM kind of started coming around. And so I kind of jumped into that field when it was first starting out. And being a younger person, my boss at the time said, "Hey, you seem like you know about computers and technology. Why don't you handle this?" And so I got in at a good time, and I just kind of flourished in that field, and I just took it and ran with it. Digital technology, just the transition from the physical impressions to digital impressions. I've seen everything was a physical impression, and you would have to pour up those impressions and hand wax everything. The technology changing from that aspect to then everything changing to a digital framework, to where everything is now scanned and everything goes through a computer now. It used to be, 20 years ago, computers were not a thing in the laboratory. So whereas nowadays, laboratories can't function without computers being involved. You can start working on a case without actually having the case in your office. So the doctor can take a scan, you can start working on that case before they even send the case to you. On average, we can get a case out several days faster digitally than we can doing it the traditional way. Just the simple fact of we can eliminate the whole model department just with the digital aspect of it. Once we can eliminate having to pour up a model, having to work up the models and everything, once we can eliminate that, that saves us at least a day. The faster that we are able to get cases back to the dentist, that's the faster that they're able to see these patients and the more patients that they're able to see. Sure, we have a very relaxed atmosphere, whereas at other laboratories it's a little more uptight, a little more strict as far as you're here at this time, you need to leave at this time, or we have to get this out. It's a lot more laid back and relaxed atmosphere. So I would say the communication that we try to strive for, the openness that we have is a big factor. We're not afraid to let not only doctors come into our lab, but other laboratories come in. A lot of labs are very closed as far as letting people come in and see how they do business. We're very open. The best thing is when we have big cases that when we're done with them, like challenging cases, that we're working through them and you're just kind of like, man, I really hope this works. And then you get the feedback that comes back and it's just kind of like, and they're blown away. They're just like, man, that was perfect. It fit right into the patient's mouth. There was no issues with it or anything. You're just like, oh, that's awesome. Those are the great times, you know, when you hear that, especially when you're like, when you're worried about that case, and then it comes back and everything's perfect with it. We have more cosmetic work here than I have anywhere else. So we do more large cases here than I have at other places. More of the other places that I've worked at, it's been more of like your single unit, like just one tooth at a time. Whereas here we do more of like your full like front of the face and everything like that. So you have more of those big like life-changing type mouths that you're working on. It's probably easier now with the technology. You know, it has gotten a lot easier, because instead of having the old school process of, okay, now you got to do this, literally it's a wand that after they prepped your teeth, they just scan your mouth with a wand, instead of having you bite down on something or gagging and all this. It's a lot less invasive.